All right, everybody. So welcome back to the channel. First off, I want to give a big shout out to Kojo248 for posting this on Reddit. Now, this is the team we're going to be breaking down. This is a block damage Iron Fortress stage 15 team. And in his post, he mentions that it'll work on all affinities with a question mark. I think I made a little bit of an adjustment that now makes this team work on all affinities. And I tried doing this video a few attempts and I realized that it kept failing. And I actually found out how the boss does the decreased crit rate targeting, which is very, very important when it comes to landing the decreased speed with Tomb Lord or Kurzad Deepheart, I think that's his name, the champion we're going to be using in today's composition. So I'm going to leave the link to this whole Reddit post down below in the comment section. If you guys want to check it out, definitely it's going to be down there. He broke down the stats a little bit further down here as well. This is basically a Batman Forever team. I don't use that clan boss team. I don't know how similar the speeds are to that team, but I do know Rashkard, Helikath, and Seeker, I think, are all part of that team, right? I guess if you use that team, you'll probably know a little bit better than me. But here we go, 6 minutes and 44 seconds. Now, this is by no means a speed run. This one was 5 minutes and 9 seconds, so his run's a little bit faster than mine. But, hey, I mean, if Unkillable for some reason is actually nerfed tomorrow, though I think tomorrow, I think it goes live tomorrow, but I think it's only going to fix Paragon. Now, for me, I'm not going to be using this team, assuming Unkillable doesn't get nerfed. But if Unkillable does get nerfed, then I guess I have no choice but to use this team because it's pretty consistent. It's pretty smooth and it's pretty nice so far. Now, I was having a big issue before doing this video. This one's the correct one. But before, my Kurzad kept getting decreased crit rate placed on him, which is a huge issue because let's take a look at Kurzad, see what he brings to the actual team. Kurzad Deepheart, his ability, his A1 ability is the only one we use from his kit. Attacks one enemy, places an extra hit if this attack is critical. The keyword, if this attack is critical. The boss places a, 15% decreased crit rate debuff, which means even if you build 117% crit rate, which I tried, doesn't matter. He's still going to reduce it 15%, and you're not going to place a crit. You don't place a crit, you're not going to place a decreased speed. You miss the decreased speed, the boss spirals out of control, and you lose the match. Now, with that said, this run is not going to be 100% consistent. It is consistent. I don't know exactly what percentage, but it's not going to be 100% because you always have that 3% chance of getting resisted. And if something happens and your 560 accuracy, ideally Kurzad and Geomancer, well, specifically Kurzad, gets resisted from placing the decreased speed, then the boss is going to start gaining turn meter whenever you place buffs, and it's going to go pretty bad, okay? Now, as far as the actual stats needed, as far as the accuracy and resistance, here's a picture right here. The boss has 555 resistance. So you're going to want at least 560. Ideally, it's going to be pretty safe. You'll see my Kurzad and Geomancer both have 560 plus. But let's talk about the speeds of these champions and talk about possible substitutions. So for me, Rashkard and Helikath can be whatever speed, okay, as far as they can swap back and forth. So they have specific speed requirements, but Rashkard could be 278 or Helikath could be 278. Doesn't matter which one's the fast one because they bring the exact same thing. You can even have 2 Helikath or 2 Rashkards. As long as you have a 2-turn block damage champion, you're going to be good to go. Now, as far as Demitha and Warcaster, I don't know if they actually work because they have a 1-turn. Maybe with the correct speed tuning, they could, but maybe that's for another video at another time. But Helikath, 278. We have second to go is Seeker at 255 speed. We open with that A1 ability. With Helikath, we have the A2 turned off. Rashkard is a third to go at 255 speed. They actually are both at 255 speed. So I need to make sure that I have my speeds correct. It did work just now, but you can see from the breakdown that Kojo did, the speeds that he has listed is Seeker at 259 speed and Helikath at 255, which in his case, that's my Rashkard, okay? So this actually does work. 255 speed Seeker. I may need to boost him up to 259, but so far, so good. Maybe I give him a glyph and we try it again in just a second. But the third champion to go is going to be Kurzad Deepheart, only using the A1 ability. And then we have Geomancer, 188 speed. Now this part right here, guys, this is so incredibly crucial. Please, this will make your run so much more consistent. And that is the boss targets the champion with the highest crit rate to do that decreased crit rate, decreased attack ability, the single hit, and he targets the champion with the most crit rate. What that means is Kurzad Deepheart, you do not want the decreased crit rate going on him, but you want him to have 100% crit rate. What that means is that you have to bring a champion who you can get to 100% crit rate, actually a little bit more than 100% crit rate is what I found. So for my Kurzad, he's currently sitting at 105% crit rate, his speed being correct, and accuracy, the most important stuff for him. But I need some champion who I can get to be over 105% crit rate. And for me, that's Seeker, because Seeker only needs to be at a specific speed. Doesn't need accuracy. He does have some accuracy in this case, but accuracy doesn't matter. So I just threw some crit rate gloves on him, got him 116% crit rate, which obviously is overkill. It's useless at that point, the extra 16%, but it's making sure that he gets targeted. Now, the other thing you'll notice is I do have 32,000 HP on Seeker compared to Kurzad, I have 35,000. So another thing, just as an extra layer of being consistent, my Seeker does have lower HP than Kurzad. So the lowest HP or in the highest crit rate, that's my Seeker's build, and that's working out pretty good so far. Now, as far as the masteries for everybody, we have no War Master on any of the damage dealers or any of the champions at all, except for Geomancer, okay? So no champions with War Master. The reason why is because there are times in this run where you're not protected by block damage. And if your champion hits the boss and crosses one of those thresholds, then you're going to get smacked and the run's over. GG's. So make sure you're not doing a whole lot of damage. Don't stack a ton of damage. All the damage is going to come from Geomancer. Now, you can use other champions. I'll talk about that in just a second. But Geomancer, honestly, is going to be kind of slow as it is. I mean, the run's almost 7 minutes. And if you switch him out for somebody else, it's going to probably be like 15 or 20 minutes maybe. I think it's ridiculous that you can only really use Geomancer if you want a relatively quick run whatsoever. But hey, it is what it is. We're going to work with what we got so far. So no masteries basically on anybody. So really free reign to do whatever you want. Now make sure a few things, okay? On your block damage champions, don't do Cycle of Magic. Don't do Cycle of Revenge. Don't do Arcane Celerity and Rapid Response. Don't do any turn meter boosting stuff. Don't do any things like that. It's going to mess up the stuff in general. If it doesn't work for Clan Boss, it's probably not going to work here either. So we'll go through the team presets one more time. Talk about a few of the important requirements. Helicath, 278 speed. Nothing else really matters. 278, good. Now, take that back. One thing does matter. He is going to get hit one time, so you do want to make sure he's able to survive that one hit. So 278 speed, some survivability, you're going to be good to go. Roshkard, 255 speed, doesn't need anything else. He's going to be good to go at that 255 speed. Seeker, apparently 255 to 259, going to be good to go, right around in that range. I believe he's still going right after my Helicath as it is. I guess he has a little bit higher base speed than Roshkard. I don't really know, actually. But we'll continue to go through and then we'll adjust it. So Seeker right there. Kurzad needs a speed, needs less crit rate, but still 100% crit rate. He's a little bit lower crit rate than your highest crit rate champion on your team, whoever that's going to be, whoever you find the easiest to put crit rate on. And then he needs 560 at least accuracy to make sure he places that decreased speed every time. Because remember, places an extra hit. If this attack is critical, the extra hit places a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. So the extra hit is what we need, and that is dependent on us actually getting a crit. Now for Geomancer, just needs a correct speed, needs good accuracy, and you're going to be good to go, okay? 560 accuracy, you're going to be perfect. Now, Dark Hell, Frozen Banshee, Mithrala, possible swaps. But remember, if you swap them out, it's going to be a very, very slow run. Now, this is the test server. You'll see my fully empowered, my fully awakened Arbiter is a test server. There should be a little image around here somewhere for the test server. But let's see. Seeker's 102 base speed, and Roshkard's 95. But you want to make sure, if possible, the Seeker is a little bit faster than Roshkard because he's going to be the second to go in your team. So let me go ahead and enter this, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. First off, Helicath getting hit one time. I'm going to get rid of my webcam so you guys can see this clearly. But Helicath will take 1 turn of damage. Now, instead of Kurzad, you could use Tomb Lord. That's who Kojo was using. Tomb Lord works perfectly fine. But on Magic Affinity, he's going to get weak hits. So I think Kurzad just the best option. But with Kurzad, like Tomb Lord, you got to make sure you have somebody else with higher crit rate on the team. As far as I'm aware, that's how the targeting is actually depended on, to actually take that decreased crit rate debuff, because if not, you're going to be missing those crit hits and a chance of placing that decreased speed. The decreased speed is so incredibly important for this team. Stagnite is good, but if the boss drops his buffs, Stagnite's increased accuracy passive is going to boost the turn meter of the boss and cause it to get way out of whack. So I wasn't able to do that. You'll see the first hit from the boss win on Helicath. Happens every single time. I think it always goes to whoever's in the lead. That's what I think. Not 100% sure. May have just been whoever's not under block damage. So that may change sometimes later in the match. But watch it in a few more minutes. That was the big hit because we proc past one of those thresholds. So all the debuffs got stripped from the boss. So hopefully here, Kurzad can place that decreased speed as soon as possible so that we can continue with the decreased speed. Because you can see big turn meter boost from there. Every time we place a buff, it's going to get worse and worse. Seeker took a hit. So some of these champions, obviously, you're going to want some survivability to them. Once we get the decreased speed on there, it should be fine. Should be smooth sailing from there. But as far as the turn meters go, it's pretty good, okay? So Seekers should get hit by this single target ability, the single target decreased crit rate, coming up in just a second. And then we'll just turn on auto. Okay, no, Hellcath got hit by it because he doesn't have block damage on him. So we're going to wait a few more seconds, see if the block damage gets worked out. But you can see some of these points in the match, it's a little bit weird. So it's not 100% consistent still, unfortunately, just because of how the boss works. If you hit even just a little bit, crosses that threshold, it's going to be more difficult. Okay, it's perfectly normal, not an issue. If you can get some immortal stuff on Hellcath, if you get regeneration, definitely a viable option. Throw on Life Drinker if you can. It's going to give him some heals. You could throw War Master on him. But like I said, it gives you a chance of kind of getting through those thresholds, kind of a little bit risky, but it's something you can consider doing to give him a little bit of heals, because if he dies, the run's going to fall apart, right? Let's go ahead and see what happens here. I want to see Seeker get hit by that single target ability. I may not ever turn it on auto, turn it on speed up the match, I guess. Got my webcam out of the way so you guys can actually see what's going on here. But here we go. Maybe this time is when the boss does a single target hit. Hopefully, Rashkar places unkill or block damage here. Let's see it. Okay, maybe Hellcath's going to place it. If not, he's dead. Okay, yeah, he places it. Now, it looks a little bit close sometimes. But close doesn't matter because we're block damage, right? So the team is speed tuned correctly. So those close calls are all accounted for. Not an issue whatsoever. But you can see there that Seeker has the decreased crit rate. That's because he has more crit rate. I don't know if it's the more crit rate or the less HP, though I did try before with Kurzad to make him have the most HP, and he also had the most crit rate, and the boss targeted him. But when I changed the crit rate and gave Seeker more than Kurzad, then Kurzad stopped being the target, and Seeker became the target from then on out. So this run is actually going to be faster, probably because Hellcath wasn't protected and was getting hit, I guess. I don't really know why, but it's quite a bit faster. So the run definitely has some variance to it. It's not going to be 100% consistent, but hey, it is a team. It doesn't have crazy high stat requirements because your two champions who do require a lot of accuracy really don't need a lot of speed, which is very, very nice. 180, 190, give or take, obviously. But those speed ranges aren't undoable. Like, they're not terrible, you know? Having to get 560 accuracy is a pain. But when you had to get 560 accuracy plus 200 something plus speed, that's difficult. 180 speed seems a little more manageable, at least in my opinion. So here we go. We come up on the end of the match. So block damage team, like I said, you can run champions like Dark Kale, Frozen Banshee, Mithrala. It's going to be difficult, but there we go, guys. We finished the match. Didn't get to turn it on sped up mode whatsoever, but 4 minutes and 10 seconds. Hopefully this team comes in handy for you guys. Like I said, there's a few options you can use to replace Kurzad, few options to replace Geomancer. Realistically, would I replace Geomancer? No. But if you don't have a Geomancer, then I guess you kind of have to replace him. So there are a few options that you could use to replace him. They're not going to be nearly as good, unfortunately. The runs are going to take so much longer, but you could do it if you really want to get through it. You could also drop it back to one of the earlier stages, use more of a damage dealer. I wouldn't necessarily recommend using Armiger, Septimus, champions like that, because they're going to proc those damage thresholds more frequently, and it's not a big deal with the counterattack because we're block damage, right? The big deal is that he strips the debuffs on him, and when that decreased speed falls off, you got to make sure to have a champion who can replace that decreased speed very, very quickly. And Kurzad is an amazing option for that because he just places it. I mean, you do need the accuracy, but it's a 100% chance, okay? He just places it on the hit, assuming your first hit is critical. So guys, with that said, hope you all enjoy this team. If you have any questions, leave it down in the comment section below. Honestly, these champions, the champions who don't have masteries, don't even need to be 6-star. You can get their stat requirements. You don't need War Master. I don't really recommend it. If you want to try it, you can. But any champion who doesn't have their masteries filled out doesn't even need to be 6-star. So you can do this kind of in a budget way. Obviously, Rashkar and Hellcath may not be the most budget options, but guys, with that said, hope you all enjoyed the video. I'm going to continue working on some Iron Twin stuff. It's difficult though, to be honest. I don't know. It's honestly too difficult and only requiring Geomancer. I don't like that. What do you guys think? Do you have any interesting teams you come up with? But only requiring Geomancer so heavily just feels so weird. Like Turvold, I want to use him. I want to use Turvold. I want to use more Cold Hearts. I want to use Armigers. But having to just narrow down to only Geomancer kind of feels a little bit weird. He's just such a good champion. If you don't have him, I feel so bad for the people who don't. Like, what do? You just have a 20-minute Iron Fortress Stage 15 team? It's terrible, guys. But with that said, hope you all enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video.